Right now, running silently through your veins, is a biological code that was written thousands of years ago. And that code is quietly shaping how long you live, how well your brain ages, how your heart holds up under pressure, and how your immune system handles threats you haven't even encountered yet. We are talking about your blood type. And no, this isn't astrology, this is molecular biology, population genetics, and decades of large-scale research pointing to something most people never think to ask their doctor about. By the time this video ends, you will understand the real strengths, the real risks, and the longevity forecast attached to every single blood type, including the one flowing through you right now. So let's start from the beginning, because most people have no idea why blood types even exist in the first place. Your blood type is determined by antigens, tiny protein markers sitting on the surface of your red blood cells. These markers signal to your immune system whether something belongs inside your body or whether it's a foreign invader that needs to be destroyed. Type A blood carries A antigens, type B carries B antigens, type AB carries both, and type O carries neither, which is why O negative blood can be given to almost anyone in an emergency. Your immune system learns these markers early in life and builds antibodies against anything that doesn't match. That immune recognition system sounds simple, but it touches nearly every aspect of your long-term health. Your clotting speed, your cancer risk, your stress hormone output, your gut bacteria, your brain aging trajectory. All of it gets quietly shaped by those tiny protein tags on your blood cells. Now let's go type by type, starting with the one that carries the oldest genetic blueprint of all, type O. This is the ancestral blood type, the one that existed before farming, before cities, before civilization as we know it. O-type blood is thought to have been the dominant blood type among hunter-gatherer populations who lived on the move, survived through physical effort, and ate whatever the land provided. And that ancient origin left a very specific set of biological advantages baked into O-type biology. The most significant one is cardiovascular protection. O-types naturally produce lower levels of a clotting protein called von Willebrand factor. That single difference means your blood is less inclined to form the sticky, dangerous clots that block arteries and trigger heart attacks. Studies looking at large populations consistently show that O-types have a measurably lower risk of coronary artery disease compared to every other blood group. And because heart disease is still the #1 killer globally, that protection translates directly into longer average lifespans. O-types also carry a built-in survival advantage against some of the deadliest infections in human history, including malaria. Researchers believe this is part of why the O blood type is so widely distributed across populations that lived in tropical, high-exposure environments. The genetic line survived because it was harder to kill. But here is where it gets complicated, because O-type biology is not all protection and longevity. There is a very specific vulnerability, and it lives in your stomach. A bacterium called Helicobacter pylori has an unusually easy time attaching to the stomach lining of O-type individuals. This increases the risk of gastric ulcers, chronic gastritis, and long-term digestive inflammation. If you are O-type and you experience recurring bloating, burning, or unexplained stomach discomfort, that is not just stress or bad luck. Your blood type may be actively contributing to it. O-types also tend to bleed more heavily after injury or surgery due to that same slower clotting system that protects the heart. So the cardiovascular gift comes with a surgical trade-off. The longevity verdict for O-types is strong. The heart ages more slowly, the vascular system stays cleaner longer, but the gut needs active attention throughout life. Protect the stomach and the cardiovascular advantage does the rest of the work for you. Now let's move to type A, the agricultural survivor. Type A blood emerged and spread when human populations shifted from hunting to farming. Permanent settlements, stored grain, domesticated animals, and much denser communities created completely new disease pressures, and type A immune biology adapted to handle them. Types developed stronger, more reactive immune responses to the kinds of infections that spread through close human contact and contaminated food supplies. That is a genuine advantage, and in ancient farming villages, it likely meant the difference between surviving an outbreak and not. But farming life also brought chronic stress, unpredictable harvests, social hierarchies, and constant low-grade pressure. And type A biology carries the fingerprint of that history in one very measurable way. A type's tend to produce higher baseline levels of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. In small doses, cortisol is essential. It sharpens focus, mobilizes energy, and keeps you alert. In chronic sustained doses, it accelerates cellular aging, suppresses immune function, raises blood pressure, and damages the cardiovascular system from the inside out. This is why A-types carry a statistically higher risk of heart disease and stroke compared to O-types. The blood itself clumps more easily, platelets are stickier, and the stress hormones that run at elevated baseline levels create a constant low-level assault on the arterial walls over decades. The longevity message for type A is this: your immune system is genuinely powerful. Your early life health profile is often excellent. But the decades accumulate differently for A-types when stress goes unmanaged. Cardiovascular disease doesn't announce itself loudly in your 30s. It quietly builds through elevated cortisol, sticky blood, and chronic inflammation until it shows up as a crisis in your 50s or 60s. Managing stress is not optional for type A. It is a biological necessity. Sleep, movement, breathwork, genuine rest. These are not luxury habits for A-types. They are longevity medicine. Next, type B, the nomadic metabolic adapter. B-type blood is less common globally, and it carries one of the most fascinating evolutionary backstories of all. It spread with ancient nomadic populations who moved across vast, climatically diverse territories. The steppes of Central Asia, the high altitudes of mountain ranges, the shifting edges of ecosystems that changed season by season. These were people whose survival depended on metabolic flexibility and an immune system that could handle rapidly changing microbial environments without overreacting or shutting down. That heritage gave B-types something genuinely rare, a balanced, adaptable immune profile. Not overly aggressive, not underpowered, B-type immunity tends to respond efficiently without tipping into the chronic hyperactivation that drives autoimmune conditions in some populations. Some research suggests that B-types show stronger resistance to certain bacterial infections, particularly those the nomadic immune system would have encountered repeatedly throughout ancient migrations. Metabolically, B-types are also more flexible than most. Their ancestral diet was diverse out of necessity. Meat, dairy, fermented foods, wild plants, grains, whatever the journey provided, that variety trained the B-type metabolism to handle a wide macronutrient range without the dramatic insulin swings that hit some other blood types harder. The weak point for B-types is inflammation driven by modern life. That same immune system flexibility that was a masterpiece in ancient environments can tip into autoimmune territory when chronically bombarded by processed food, sedentary living, and chemical stress, weight gain, insulin sensitivity issues, and inflammatory. Conditions can escalate faster in B-types than many people expect, and they often go undetected until they are well established. The longevity picture for B-types is genuinely promising through midlife. Recovery is good, immunity is balanced, metabolic adaptability is real. But the second half of life depends on one variable above everything else: inflammation control. The B-type who keeps inflammation low through diet, movement, and sleep quality tends to age gracefully and with surprising resilience. The B-type who doesn't may find the second half of life considerably harder than the first. And now we arrive at the youngest, rarest blood type in human history. Type AB. AB blood didn't exist until A and B populations began mixing a few thousand years ago. In evolutionary terms, it is brand new, a biological experiment still running in real time. AB types carry a uniquely tolerant immune system, one that recognizes both A and B antigens as self, making it calm, non-reactive, and broadly accepting of foreign material. That tolerance gives AB types certain protections, including a lower risk of some gastrointestinal cancers and generally less immune-driven inflammation in the gut. But that same immune tolerance carries a cost that researchers have now documented in large-scale studies, and it is a significant one. A B individuals show the highest risk of cognitive decline and memory deterioration as they age. The leading theories point to a combination of unique clotting patterns around the brain's blood vessels, lower immune surveillance of early cellular damage in neural tissue, and the overall tolerant immune profile that may allow certain harmful processes in the brain to progress further before triggering a defense response. A B blood also carries clotting tendencies similar to type A. meaning stroke risk and vascular issues in the brain are genuine concerns that compound the cognitive picture over time. For AB types, the longevity challenge isn't primarily the heart, it's the brain. And that distinction completely changes what protective habits look like. If you are AB type, your focus needs to be on brain longevity. Deep sleep, because that is when the brain's glymphatic system flushes out the waste proteins linked to dementia. Omega-3 fatty acids, which maintain the structural integrity of neural membranes. Regular cardiovascular exercise, which drives blood flow to the brain and has the strongest evidence base of anything we know for protecting cognitive function as we age. Social and intellectual engagement, which builds the neural reserve that delays the expression of decline even when the underlying biology is working against you. AB types can absolutely live long, cognitively sharp, fully engaged lives, but that outcome requires a proactive strategy, not a passive one. Now, layered underneath all of this is one more variable that modifies every blood type picture in subtle but important ways: the Rh factor, the positive or negative after your blood type letter. Rh. Positive individuals carry an additional antigen on their red blood cells. Rh negative individuals don't. The practical differences in daily health are modest, but they are real. Rh negative individuals have historically faced more complexity around pregnancy, particularly when an Rh negative mother carries an Rh positive baby and the immune system generates a mismatch response. Modern medicine has largely solved this with preventive treatment, but it speaks to a deeper truth about Rh negative biology, which is that it is immune system variation that operates at a subtle but meaningful level. Some research suggests that Rh negative individuals may regulate certain inflammatory pathways differently, potentially influencing how they age in ways that are still being studied. Rh positive individuals, particularly those with blood types already prone to higher clotting, may carry slightly elevated risks for certain vascular conditions that compound with the base blood type picture. Neither Rh factor is a sentence, but knowing yours adds one more layer of biological self-awareness that is worth having. So what does the full longevity landscape look like when we step back and see it all at once? O-types carry the strongest overall lifespan potential, driven primarily by cardiovascular protection that compounds favorably over decades, as long as gut health is actively maintained. B-types often experience strong, healthy middle years, with genuine resilience, but long-term aging quality is inflammation-dependent in a very direct way. A-types start with immune strength but face a cardiovascular and stress hormone challenge that shortens the gap with O-types when left unaddressed, and AB types carry the most complex picture, with lower heart risk than A-types in some respects, but the highest documented cognitive vulnerability of any blood group as aging progresses. But here is the most important thing you can take from all of this, and it is not a ranking, it is a framework. Your blood type is not your fate. It never was. What it is a map, a biological starting point that tells you where your terrain is smooth and where the ground gets rough. Some people inherit a highway. Some people inherit a road with one section under construction. Knowing which section is yours means you can slow down before you hit it rather than after. The people who live longest and age best are rarely the ones with the most favorable genetics. They are the ones who understood their biology well enough to stop fighting against it and start working with it. You cannot rewrite the code in your blood, but you have complete authority over the habits that determine whether that code becomes a limitation or simply a set of instructions you already know how to work around. So now that you have the full picture, which blood type are you? And which part of this surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments because your biology is worth talking about. If this gave you something genuinely useful, hit subscribe so you never miss what's coming next.